Hey everybody. So I'm here this time with a little War of the Roses. Now this game was just released on Steam today officially, but those of us who pre-ordered it have actually had the opportunity to play it for quite a while now. But because there was some question when the beta was happening as to whether or not it was okay to show footage of this game, I opted not to go that route. But now that it's actually officially been released, I definitely wanted to show it to you folks because I think it's one of the more interesting games to be released this year from what I've seen of it. So as you can see, this is medieval style, knights and horsemen and archers style combat. And
Victory is near.
that in and of itself makes it a bit of a unique game. You've got things like the Mount and Blade series and the Age of Chivalry and the upcoming Chivalry medieval warfare game that are kind of in this same vein. But this is a genre of gaming that's really been pretty underrepresented as far as I'm concerned, and I'm definitely glad to see as many of these sorts of games available, as is warranted. As long as people continue to make things of quality, I don't see any reason why this genre shouldn't continue to expand. And actually, a really interesting thing about the three games that I just mentioned is that oh, this guy really wants to do me harm. I should probably do something about that. Oh, I just hit a friendly. Sorry, friendly. That was a poorly timed swing at best. So, obviously one thing you may have noticed about this game is it's kind of fast-paced, kind of hectic, very timing-based with these swings. You really have to line up your shots and choose the appropriate timing to... Oh, tried to yield there, but he got me with that execute before I could successfully yield. That's a big mechanic in the game, especially when you're leveling up, because every time you can successfully execute another player once they've been downed, not only does that prevent them from being brought back to life, but it also gives you a massive point bonus. So if you're trying to level up a character, that's something you'll want to keep in mind, is that going for those executes really causes you to level much faster. Now, of course, the downside to it is while you're in that execution animation, you are completely exposed to the people around you, so they can interrupt you, hit you for massive damage and possibly put you into a bad situation. So you definitely have to be careful about using that in the appropriate situation. So you see here I'm using a crossbowman. This is actually a custom class that I built using a bunch of unlocks that I got from playing previously. So I've kind of outfitted this guy as a sort of fast, nimble crossbowman, trying to really focus on speed and maneuverability as opposed to durability. I've also got like the most potentially devastating crossbow at my disposal, but as those of you who are familiar with medieval weaponry will know, the crossbow can take a bit of effort to reload. Now, of course, the nice thing about it is once it's loaded, you can kind of draw back and take your shot, take your time lining up your shot. Oh, that was not good. But then you've got the long, lengthy reload time here to get it ready to fire again. And you notice I have this like active reload kind of mini game that I can play as it's reloading to basically try to speed that process up. But if you miss the timing of it, it actually ends up penalizing you. So you have to be fairly confident in your ability to execute that properly. Otherwise it's not even worth doing because it just ends up slowing down the process. And obviously trying to do that while I'm talking maybe not the best idea. But you get the idea. You basically just want to click the left button as you're holding the right button, and that point rotates around the circle, and you basically just get it to the appropriate point, and then you can do what you need to do. Oh, that was really dumb. When I first got hit there, I should have immediately disengaged because there were plenty of people on that guy, and I should have just protected myself, you know, drawn my sword and tried to deal with that guy that was hitting me. But I thought if I could get it in that split second between him hitting me, I could actually finish that guy they were working on, but obviously that didn't work out so well. So you can see here, I'm in a squad, which you may have noticed on that spawn screen. The advantage to that is that basically you get to spawn on your squad leader. So if you can, you know, getting into a squad with a bunch of friends on voice comms is really the ideal way to play this, because then you can spawn on your squad leader, coordinate your efforts, and really just try to take advantage of whatever. So that was an insta-kill, so I don't get to execute him, but that was totally worth it. I'm just saying. But yeah, you know, you really want to coordinate as much as you can in this game, you know, whether it's with the random people you're playing with, or, you know, people that you're playing with on voice comms, you know, friends and such, because this game is absolutely 100% about teamwork. You know, whether you're playing team deathmatch or conquest mode, it's something you want to think about constantly, is what can you be doing at any given moment to really assist your team. Whether it's, you know, reviving fallen comrades, bandaging them if they're wounded, you know, backing people up who are trying to capture an objective, like all the same things you would find in like a, you know, a team-oriented game like Battlefield, are all very much present here. Oh, that was a terrible shot, but I knew the round was about to end, so I figured I'd just try to get one out there. So, you know, that's a little taste of the crossbowman. You can also play as a longbowman in this game. Not too terrible. I died more than I killed, though. That's never a good thing. But at least I'm on the top section of the board here, so I can feel good about that. And I participated in capturing a couple points, and that's really one of the most important things you can do in Conquest, so good times. But, you know, this game is about working together with people. And if you're a lone wolf style of player, you know, you can definitely accomplish some things in this game, but what you're going to find more often than not is, as soon as you break away from the group, you know, as soon as you're off by yourself trying to do your own thing, you're immediately going to fall prey to, you know, the law of numbers, right? Where it's like, no matter how good you are with your sword or your shield or your bow or what have you, if there's 5 guys attacking you and you're by yourself, you're going to have a bad time, because, you know, inevitably they're just going to overwhelm you with sheer numbers. So it really pays to take a more kind of group mentality to this game. You know, join up with a squad, spawn on your squad leader, try to stick with them as much as you can. You know, if you're not happy with you know, what a particular squad leader is doing, just join a different squad on your next respawn, or form your own, and then people can spawn off of you. But, you know, definitely make use of the squad mechanics, because that's a big part of what makes this game good. You know, so here, Squad 1 doesn't have a leader yet, so I'm just going to jump in and take that, and then anybody who wants to join that squad can spawn on me. And here you see I've switched classes. This is my kind of big, heavy, two-handed weapon guy, another custom class that I made. One of the really cool things about this game is that you can really get into some nitty-gritty details about how you customize your weapons and armor and such. So you can end up making a character that's fairly unique to you and your particular play style. So what you really want to keep in mind is that, like, if you, say, for example, don't really care for any of the default classes that are present in the game, you can use the points that you've obtained to unlock new weapons, new fighting styles, new kind of accoutrements and double glazings for those weapons. I think I've managed to, yes, I've managed to completely go the wrong way there. Sorry, teammate. That was my bad. Let's get back on task. But, you know, as I was saying, this game offers such an opportunity for customization and really caters to a bunch of different play styles that it's kind of amazing. Like, this game has some really amazing qualities to it, and that's definitely one of them. The other thing that I will say that I think is really amazing about this game is just how great the combat system feels. It's super satisfying and visceral and just amazing when you get down to it. Like when you run up on a dude and you hack into them, or you successfully block an incoming attack, like so many of those things just feel so fantastic, and you really just you can't underestimate how satisfying it feels to play this game. Like when you succeed in it, it's unlike anything else that I've played, honestly. Like, you know, Mount and Blade is a very cool game, but I feel like the combat system in this goes like way beyond anything that's, you know, present in that game. Like this seems like a real natural evolution of this style of gameplay, and I gotta say I'm a huge fan of it. Like I played the beta like crazy, you know, for the amount of time it was available, and I just could not wait. I could not have been more excited to play more of this game when early access started, and I'm super excited to show it to you guys in case you haven't seen it, because it really is, you know, one of the more unique kind of cool experiences out there right now. And so if you haven't had a chance to check this game out yet, you definitely should. In terms of multiplayer and playing with friends and stuff like that, it's really really pretty easy to get on to the same team with friends and such. You probably noticed that whenever the round started, everybody always has to pick their team at the beginning of each round. So basically all you have to do is just say to your friends, hey, everybody go to York, or everybody go to Lancaster, and then just kind of mosh on those team buttons, you know, until that side becomes available. And like I've had groups of like 4 and 5 people, you know, all together on the same team, and it's real easy to do that. You know, you definitely are able to customize, or I should say group. You know, grouping together is definitely possible. So you see my squad mate just spawned on me there, which was very fortuitous, because I was kind of in trouble there, but because I was squad leader and they were able to spawn on me, I got some backup there at a very opportune moment and was able to you know, get that execute going, kind of turn the tide of this engagement to a certain extent. So that's how important that squad stuff is. You know, I can't emphasize it enough. You know, play this game with other people. Like, don't try to do it all yourself, because you're gonna have a much better time. You're gonna accomplish a lot more, and just really get the most out of the experience, you know, sharing that with other people. Oh, except when you accidentally stab your teammate. Okay, so I'm wounded here, and I'm gonna bandage real quick if I can. Okay, so I should have put my visor down. That's one really cool thing you can do in this game, is if you have a helmet with a visor, you can drop it. Anybody gonna res me? Nope. Okay. If you have a helmet with a visor, you can put that down and make yourself less susceptible to headshots. So that's something you always want to do, if you remember to, is to put that visor down when you go to bandage. You know, so you are sorry, I got completely distracted because there's so much madness happening right now. Sorry, I'm trying to do my commentary, but it's kind of falling apart here because I'm so distracted by what's happening. Oops, sorry, teammate. So one other nice ability that the... I should really disengage. Oh, I'm gonna bleed out. I'm gonna bleed out! Come on, come on, come on! Bandage! Bandage! Oh my god, I can't believe I lived through that. Can't believe I lived through that. That was amazing. Wow, that never happens. Glad I got that on film. But that, that's one thing about, games in general, and I feel like that's something, maybe this is a good opportunity to bring this up. Like, a lot of times people get into situations in games and they think it's a foregone conclusion that they're done, so they'll just kind of surrender and be like, whatever, oh, you got me. But, like, you never say die, never give up. There's always a chance that you can make it. If somebody else makes a mistake or doesn't capitalize on an opportunity you've given them, don't assume that you can't win. Go for it, and sometimes it'll work out. So there's that charge ability, which I just completely misused. I managed to take out my own teammate there, which is really super embarrassing. I probably deserve to die now for that. But so the idea is that's on a cooldown for infantrymen. So yeah, I totally deserve to die there. I apologize, teammate. But that cooldown basically lets you charge at an enemy and kind of stun them, and then follow it up with a pretty devastating, like, quick hit. So it's definitely something worth checking out when you're doing your custom builds. I think all of the melee classes have that all the default melee classes have that ability. So if you're just starting out and you're using the footman class or the poleaxe guy, they're all gonna have that charge ability. But like I said, you can't just spam it. It's on that cooldown. You probably saw the pie wheel come up, after I utilized it, kind of indicating that that it was on cooldown. So, but that's just an example of some of, like, the customizations that you can do that are super cool. Like, if you want to really diversify your build and make a build that's really unique to your character and your style of play, there's lots of opportunity to do that. Like, you can really get into pretty much any style of combat you want. If you want to be quick, rapid fire attacks, death by 1,000 cuts, you can totally do a build like that. If you want this slower, more powerful kind of build, that's obviously something I'm using here. And I will say, even the default classes in this game are super useful. I mean, I've gotten plenty of kills. I mean, that's how I leveled up and got everything that I've gotten, so far, is, using the default classes for the most part. So, they're plenty effective. So it's not like if you come into the game, quote unquote late, like after all these other people have started playing, that you can't just, start playing it and have a good time and be reasonably successful. Granted, you may not do as well as, a character like mine that's been leveled up and has access to better gear. But, I've certainly been killed by people, who were using the default classes. It's not impossible. The advantages that you get from leveling up are less about making your character more powerful and more about giving you more options for the way you want to play. There's no unlock you're going to get or thing you're going to get from playing the game that's going to make it inherently easier or take the skill element away from it. It's just about giving you more choices in terms of how you want to approach it. So unfortunately, that server went down in the middle of that game, which is kind of a bummer. That's happened a few times since I've been playing. I think they may be going through some minor server issues because it is launch day. But I feel like that maybe gives you a pretty decent sense of what the game is about. I mean, you get to see a little ranged combat there, a little melee. Obviously, there is mounted combat in this game. I don't think we got to see too much of that in this video. But rest assured, you can, in fact, unlock cavalry and get yourself a horse, and you can even steal other people's horses if you have that ability to ride them. You can dismount somebody from their horse and then kill them and take it, which is kind of cool. And I think you might even be able to do that even if you aren't a horseman yourself, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Might have to look into that. But as you can see, so these are your 4 basic builds. Like when you very first start playing, you'll just have the footman and his basic sword and shield combo, and you see he has the perks. Like he's got that tackle ability, which you can see down here, and then he's got the shield ability and the ability to capture points faster, so he's kind of geared for the conquest style of gameplay. That might be a change that you make in a custom class, right? Like, say you really like this build, but you don't want to waste one of your perks on this Watchman stuff if you're not playing Conquest. Say you're playing a lot of Team Deathmatch, then like that might be something you do in your custom build. It's like basically like recreate this build, but then give him like the Surgeon perk instead, so he's more effective at healing people or rezzing them or whatever. As opposed to capturing points, because obviously point capture is not important in Team Deathmatch. So, stuff like that becomes important in terms of how you tweak these builds. Infantry, that's the infantry versus cavalry thing. Like if you wanted to build a character that used a horse, you'd switch that perk. And then officer abilities become available, I think, at level 20. And that's just basically lets you, if you're the squad leader, drop banners that allow your team to rally around them, so you can have them do extra damage or get a minor heal over time buff, or do various other perks that are kind of contingent upon the people rallying around the banner that you plant. I haven't actually gotten to experiment with that too much in the game, because a lot of times I'm either not the squad leader or I'm not in a situation that really warrants dropping a banner. But I definitely have seen it in action and know that it can make a difference in gameplay. It's one of the nice advantages that higher level players get that allow them to really encourage the lower level players to stay near them, because, as I say, the banners are influenced by proximity. But anyway, just to run through these real quick. So you have the crossbowman variant. Again, this guy's kind of set up for conquest mode. Again, with the Watchman perk for capturing points faster. I think actually all of these guys are set up with Watchman by default. Oh no, Surgeon on the Foot Knight. So even if you're using the default classes, like if you want to do Team Deathmatch, maybe the Foot Knight's a better choice once you get him unlocked, which I think happens very early on. Like maybe a round or two of playing the game will get you these 4 basic classes unlocked, and then you get the 4 custom slots that you basically just spend the in-game currency on to unlock those, and then you can make those whatever you want. You get to pick your perks, pick your main weapon, sidearm, dagger, shield, helmet, armor, and mount. And of course, all that stuff's predicated on the perks you've taken. Like obviously, you have to have the appropriate perks selected to be able to equip a mount or a shield or what have you. And then, just to run through this real quick. So like say on this guy, I'm using my main weapon. Here's a bunch of there's still a few things I haven't unlocked yet. You see some of them have level restrictions on them. But in this case, I'm just using the two-handed sword. At some point, I'm assuming that they're going to add more weapons in through DLC or some such expansion. But what you have here is actually still pretty customizable. So even though you only have one choice for two-handed swords right now, you can pick your fighting style, which affects damage and swing speed and all these sort of parameters. So I've been going with Imperial, and then standard steel. I prefer this Toledo steel because it allows you to slice through multiple, you'll see it on the right there, but it allows you to slice through multiple targets simultaneously, which can be bad, if you're in a mixed situation where you've got friendlies and enemies kind of piled up on top of each other. But if you're in, say, a 2-on-1 where you've got two enemies bearing down on you, the ability to do significant damage to both of them simultaneously is pretty awesome. So that's the reason I go with that. You know, if I'm in a more crowded situation, I might use a jab or an overhand swing or something that lets me be a little more selective with my targeting as opposed to like a side swipe. But then you've got your grind. You know, basically this is weapon durability versus potential damage and speed and whatnot. I had been using the hollow grind, but I think I'm becoming a fan of the convex. Just because of some subtle variations in how it works. And then as you can see, the balanced pommel tends to improve those aspects of things just across the board. So it just is something that makes sense to implement. There is a bit of a penalty to like setting up the swing, but it's fairly minor. So I almost always will go for the balanced pommel on the sword. But like that just gives you an example, and like all of these different all these different primary weapon types have that same level of customization to them. You know, like if you're firing a bow, for example, it's like, you know, how many arrows are you going to carry? What's the drop on the arrow going to be like? You know, is it good at penetrating armor or not? You know, all these variations that you can get into that really let you say, okay, I want to play this particular style of play. You know, like I want to be up close and personal, but I still want to use a ranged weapon. You know, so you could have like a short bow or something that like is better suited to close range. You know, with like a fast reload and a really, you know, devastating close range shot, but that like isn't effective at long range. So that, you know, you get a lot of those trade-offs, pros and cons and whatnot. But yeah, I don't want to get too much deeper into this because I feel like a lot of the fun of this game is just kind of discovering a lot of this stuff for yourself and kind of experimenting with it and getting to see all the different maps and interact with all that different stuff kind of on your own. So I think I'm going to wrap this up. I think that gives you a pretty decent idea of what this game's all about and whether or not it's something you'd be interested in. But like I said before, I cannot recommend this game highly enough. I think it's easily one of the best games to come out this year for sure, and you know, I would say, you know, do not hesitate to check it out, and yeah, good times.